This is Movie Division. Today, I'm going to recap the action-adventure sci-fi thriller entitled Venom: Let There Be Carnage. Spoilers ahead. Watch out. The movie opens in St. Estes Reform School, where a teen couple is seen talking to each other, and the girl named Frances informs her boyfriend, Cletus, that she is being shifted to somewhere else due to her mutations, but she does not want to leave him. After a while, the police arrive and takes away Frances while they both keep crying for each other. On her way to a new place, Frances uses her mutational powers and assails a detective named Mulligan. He tries to save himself and accidentally shoots Frances. The movie switches to the present day, where Frances is seen in an institution named Romancroft, and she is presented with a newspaper and her food. Frances reads the news about Cletus, who is sentenced to death because he has become a serial killer, and the doctor also taunts her. Following that, Eddie is in the police station with Detective Mulligan, who informs him that Cletus wants to see him and has demanded a meeting with him. Eddie is shocked after listening to this but agrees with him, thinking Cletus may provide any information regarding the dead bodies he has hidden. As Mulligan turns his back to Eddie, Venom tries to eat him, but Eddie draws him back and persuades him that he cannot eat people like this. Eddie meets Cletus in Dan Quentin jail, and when asked about the reason for selecting him, Cletus informs Eddie that he likes him. Cletus then states that he wants him to deliver a message to his fans and write his life story. He gives him a piece of poetry to use on the cover of his story, in which he has given a hint to his love, Frances. On his way out of jail, Eddie and Venom spot some sketches on the walls of Cletus's room, and Venom remembers everything. Mulligan tries to ask Eddie what Cletus has told him, but Eddie does not reveal anything to him and leaves. After returning home, Venom draws all of the sketches that he remembered from the jail and helps Eddie find the dead body's location. The police recover a large number of dead bodies from the location reported by Eddie, and everyone considers him the hero. At the same time, Cletus's date of death sentence is confirmed by the judges after the recovery of the dead bodies. Frances and Cletus become very angry at Eddie. Meanwhile, Venom gets sick of eating the chicken's brain and begs Eddie to let him eat the human brain. Eddie does not allow him, and Venom makes him recall that he only needs a chemical found in chocolate and the human brain. Eddie then takes him to Mrs. Chen's store, but she informs them that the chocolate has not yet arrived. Eddie takes Venom to a poultry farm and tells him to eat as much as he wants. After that, Venom tries to convince Eddie that they are wasting their talent, and instead of hiding, they must have been fighting the wrong people, and he helps the lady. Venom tries to eat the thief, but Eddie persuades him not to do it. During this, Eddie receives a call from his ex-girlfriend Anne, who apologizes for not contacting him and requests him to see her as she has some very important news. Venom thinks she has broken up with her boyfriend Dan, and they both reach out to her. Eddie gets confused by looking at Anne after a long time, and Anne discloses the news of her engagement to Dan, due to which Eddie and Venom get sad. Eddie hides his sadness in the fact that Venom is still with him, but Anne knows that Venom is here and asks him to take care of Eddie. The following day, Venom prepares breakfast and shows him a letter. Eddie reads the letter from Cletus in which he wishes to see Eddie one more time before his demise, and states this story of how he survived after his birth and killed his grandmother and mother at a young age. He also discloses the abuse he has been facing from his father and from the students of Estes Reform School. Venom stops him from meeting him again, but Eddie insists. The next day, Eddie arrives at the jail and meets Cletus. Cletus talks to him and states that all he wants is family, and he infuriates Eddie by saying that he is murdered like him, as he has killed his mother during his birth. Venom loses control and assails him, but Eddie manages to stop him while Cletus bites Eddie's hand and drinks his blood. When they leave, Cletus states that his blood tastes different from others. Eddie gets mad at Venom for attacking Cletus and makes him aware of the consequences. Venom apologizes for it, and after a while, he suggests to Eddie that they must fight the criminals like a lethal protector, but he tells him that they saved the day. Venom gets tired of Eddie's boring life, and they both argue. Eddie asks him to leave him alone because he always keeps talking in his brain. They both call each other a loser, and Venom gets angry when Eddie states that he is nothing except him. Venom breaks everything at his house and leaves by switching to another man's body. He also destroys Eddie's bike before leaving. In the next scene, Cletus is seen in a chamber for his death sentence in front of his victims' families, but Venom's blood produces another symbiote, Carnage, in his body that takes control and kills everyone there. Guards tried to stop him, but nothing affects Carnage, and he escapes from prison after setting many criminals free by killing all the guards. After Venom leaves, Eddie cleans his house. That day, Eddie listens to the news that Cletus has escaped from jail, and as he decides to contact Detective Mulligan, he appears on his doorsteps and questions him why he is always connected to such incidents. Mulligan also informs him of the strange power suit that has helped Cletus, and he understands it is also a symbiote. Mulligan gets the recording of Eddie's meeting with Cletus and leaves. Eddie starts looking at all of Venom's sketches and comes to know about Estes' school and Francis. Eddie reaches the school, finds the names of Cletus and Francis written on a tree, and contacts Mulligan. Eddie informs him about what he has seen but states that he has killed Francis with his hands and that she can't be alive. On the other hand, Venom reaches a party where everyone is in weird dresses, and everyone appreciates him thinking it is some kind of dress. Venom feels proud and wishes Eddie to be with him. At the same time, Carnage and Cletus track down Francis and reach Romancroft to rescue her. Cletus arrives when Doctor is taunting Francis and kills her. He introduces her to Carnage and they take Francis with them. On their way to escape, police try to stop them, but Carnage overpowers them and kills everyone in his way. Meanwhile, Venom's host gets weak and reaches Mrs. Chin's shop while looking for the chocolates and gets into her body. Meanwhile, Eddie is captured by Detective Mulligan, who tries to investigate him, but he requests to make a phone call. Eddie contacts Anne and asks her to meet him. Anne arrives at the police station with Dan and requests everyone to leave her with Eddie. Eddie informs her that Venom has left her and requests Anne to find him and that he cannot face Cletus and his symbiote alone. Anne and Dan reach Mrs. Chin's shop, and after talking to her, Anne realizes that Venom is in her body. Anne manages to persuade Venom to help Eddie by appreciating his power and skills. At this exact moment, Carnage, Cletus, and Francis plan to gather Mulligan, Eddie, and Venom at their marriage to seek revenge. Anne returns to Eddie, and when asked about Venom, Anne changes to she-Venom and escapes with Eddie. Eddie asks Venom to get back to his body while he asks him for an apology. Eddie apologizes to him and ensures that he has changed his life, after which Venom enters his body. Eddie asks Dan and Anne to leave the city. On the other side, Francis reaches Eddie's apartment and finds a ring as well as she looks at Anne's picture. She immediately rushes to Anne's house and knocks out Dan. She talks to Anne about Eddie but denies providing any information, and Francis knocks her out too. Mulligan also reaches to arrest Cletus, but he changes to Carnage and captures him. Mulligan and Anne are taken to Cathedral Church, while Dan contacts Eddie and informs him that Anne has been kidnapped by Cletus and Francis, and reveals the address of the church. Venom and Eddie immediately rush toward the church to save Anne. Cletus and Francis start their marriage ceremony, whilst Venom arrives and gets scared of Carnage. Eddie barely manages to convince him to fight Carnage and promises him of allowing to eat anyone's brain. Venom gets motivated and assails Carnage, but he gains the upper hand on Venom. Dan arrives there and tries to weaken Carnage with the help of fire, but he recovers and is about to eat Dan when Venom comes and saves him. The church bells start ringing, due to which both symbiotes get weak and Cletus beats Eddie. Meanwhile, Francis takes her revenge and kills Mulligan. Carnage weakens Venom and leaves, asking them to see how he kills Anne. During this, Carnage and Francis get against each other due to her high voice, and Eddie convinces Venom that they are a perfect match for each other. Venom listens to this, gets motivated, and assails Carnage again, and manages to free Anne from him despite being injured severely. Venom finds Francis standing nearby him and pushes her down, due to which she screams, and both of the symbiotes leave their hosts while Francis gets killed when the bell falls on her. Dan and Anne help Venom to reach Eddie, and he is saved this way. Carnage falls at a distance from Cletus, and before Carnage could have returned to Cletus, Venom arrives and eats him up. Venom then picks up Cletus and Eddie talks to him. Cletus informs Eddie that all he needs from him is his friendship, but Venom kills him by eating his brain. After that, Eddie meets Anne and Dan for the last time and asks them to be careful. Eddie and Venom are seen together in front of their hens when Venom asks to leave Eddie, but he states that they are friends now. In the following scene, Eddie and Venom are on a beach where Eddie apologizes for not giving him what he wants, and Venom tells him that he loves him and has accepted him along with his faults. Eddie discloses that they both can become lethal heroes. Venom gets excited about this, and the movie ends here. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on the bell notification, and leave a like. It really helps this channel. Thank you for watching.